You are listening to Inspired Caring with Michelle Magner, episode number 127. Hello, welcome to Inspired Caring. I'm your host, Michelle Magner. If you are caring for an older family member, this is the podcast for you. Each week, I bring insight, tips, inspiration, and strategies to help you care for the people that you love without losing yourself along the way. Having cared for both of my grandmothers, I've helped manage everything from hospital stays, households full of belongings, to navigating senior living and end-of-life care. And I've worked in senior living as a result of that experience, serving my residents and their families as they've been on this journey too. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you enjoy this episode of Inspired Caring. Hello, y'all. I'm having technical difficulties with my computer, so I'm recording this episode on my phone, and hopefully the audio is beautiful and crystal clear, and you can hear me. Today, I would like to talk about the darkest thoughts that pop up as caregivers when we're caregiving. And we're going to dive into that. But first, hold that thought. We are having the most beautiful fall. Everything feels very pumpkin-y and pumpkin spicy. I decorated the fireplace mantle and with some greenery and leaves, and the pots out front of my house are all decorated, and things are just feeling really warm and cozy. Our 15-year-old son was able to go trick-or-treating this year, and people were so kind to him. And now we have so much candy to choose from. It was beautiful. He had such a fun night. One of our daughters has come home several times this fall, and I've just absolutely soaked that up. And then our other daughter is coming home today for the weekend. It is very easy to get caught up in romanticizing the nostalgia of what used to be, because our house in the fall was always bustling with children and neighbors. And on Halloween, we would always have this party. And I still made the same food this year. And we had a friend and her daughter come over, and it was really lovely. And I just really appreciated it for what this year was, instead of spending too much time in what used to be. I'm really observing that these are the best, most wonderful days. And it's very easy to get caught up in the logistics or excitement or dread of what's to come. And really, when I'm in that spot in the future, I'll just be thinking about what's next again, right? I'm listening to a lot of Abraham, also known as Esther Hicks right now, and really paying attention to how I'm feeling in this moment. They share that our life is made up of this moment and this moment and this moment. So paying attention to how we're feeling in this moment is really important. When we focus on what we don't have, we expand that, and then we remain in discomfort. When we focus on what we do have, we feel ease and peace. So if we can focus on the one thing that's going right instead of the three things that aren't, we will call in more of what we want to go right. I'm just really open to this idea, and it feels really good to me in this moment. And that's all life is made up of, is a combination of this moment, one right after the other. So that just feels really delicious. And we're in November, it's National Caregiver Month, and I see you, and you're doing a super job. And hopefully this month you can find some respite or something that helps you feel celebrated and honored for what you're doing as a family caregiver. That would just be really special and very important It's important to take care of ourselves. So today we're going to talk about these dark thoughts that bubble to the surface as family caregivers. My clients and I talk a lot about paying attention to and managing thoughts, reframing things, and shifting perspective. This is so helpful as they walk through the challenges that they face with aging parents and siblings and within their marriages. It all is part of the formula. I can literally feel the pain my clients are in. And the goal is to help them step through this pain by acknowledging it and processing it so there can be a release or at least a softening of it. As my client was describing a situation with her mom, I could feel these words bubbling up that she was afraid to say. And I said them out loud for her. And the thought was, I wish she would just die. And she felt so much relief that I had said it because she was thinking it and feeling it, but couldn't say it. So just to hear the words out loud started to soften them. Because sometimes when we repeat things to ourselves, back to ourselves that we're thinking, it can help lighten them up a little bit or ease them. I know that our words can be 10 times more powerful than our thoughts. And to have a thought that you are ruminating on constantly is super exhausting. So just saying it out loud, even if it wasn't her, the one that was saying it, there was a sense of relief around that. And I think this is one of the heaviest thoughts that comes up for people. And the reason it feels so heavy is that there is a belief that this thought bubbling up is a bad thought or evil thought or something that indicated that she was of poor character or a bad daughter or a bad human being. And really, it's just a combination of words that are dropping in as a thought. So here's the thing, and we know this in so many other areas of our life, but we do not have to believe everything that drops into our brains. Our mind is constantly filtering information, and we get to choose what we give meaning to or attach to. The dark thoughts that come to the surface aren't revealing to us that we are murderers. They are not exposing our true character. What we desire is for suffering to end. It is horrible to see someone we love in pain and distraught and in discomfort. It is horrible to see someone that we love become a shell of who they once were and then ultimately crack. It's horrible to feel stretched so thin that we can hardly breathe and become a shell of who we were. I had a dear friend say that caring for her mom living with Alzheimer's has forever changed who she was. It has changed all the relationships within the family. And the implication was that this was not in a good way. As I watched my own mother-in-law struggle with her dementia, it was impossible to not wonder where things were headed for her and for us. And then she became nonverbal, and to experience that. And then ultimately the vacancy came. Everything in her mind just shifted to neutral. There was no more joy. She no longer knew who we were or who she was or what she was doing, and her spark was just completely gone. Ultimately, the neutrality of spirit was overcome with her body failing. It was a slow shifting, slowing down of all the systems, and ultimately all abilities for basic function started declining. And it was like impossible not to have these fleeting thoughts of how long will this go on? Just like other thoughts that come into our mind, we can allow those to flow through with curiosity and not attach so much meaning to them. We can just let the thought flutter by. Sometimes our parents, family members in the past had planted these seeds of snuffing them out. Because their exit strategy has been, if I don't know who anyone is, you just put a pillow over my face. Or to like take them out in some way. And this has come up with more than one client. And even just in networking meetings, this has come up in this joking kind of way. And so I just want to remind you that promises made in jest do not have to become words of torture when the parent is failing. The discomfort to pure agony that is being felt by caregivers because they're having these fleeting thoughts, it's because they're actually attaching some concept that this could actually be an option on the table for consideration, which we know dropping dead is not a plan, and we also know that murder is not a plan. It is illegal. So if you have a parent that says this to you, it's super easy to laugh and fluff it off. There's also an opportunity here to say, unfortunately, we don't live in a death with dignity state. So I would love to talk to you about your wishes when you're ready. So here's an interesting concept. Medical treatments are optional. Medical treatments are optional. This is the beauty of a living will, where someone who is of sound mind actually outlines what their desires and wishes would be exactly under a variety of circumstances. Someone living with advanced dementia does not have to go to a dermatologist for a potentially cancerous spot. Someone who has nearly died twice from cancer treatments with advancing cancer doesn't need to have a surgery for something else if they don't want to. Our medical system is set up to, at any expense or cost, mentally, physically, financially, it's set up to treat, to diagnose and treat, diagnose and treat. And what we know as living human beings, living creatures, is that we will die. Eventually we will die. And I think so often we get very victimized in this idea of what that could look like. And I think there's also some options to be open to discussion about, if we have an advancing chronic condition, having a little more thought about what we actually do want that to look like. The other piece of having a living will is having a power of attorney who is going to honor that living will. If your family member has done some paperwork, get that living will out and review it. Take a look at it. And if they've done it and they're still in a position where they can talk about it, touch base to make sure that that's still where they're at. When my mother-in-law she was living with advanced dementia and she went to the hospital with COVID, and she was clearly feeling decisions had to be made. And they were made before we could review her living will document. And treatment would have looked differently if that had been referenced. There are programs to help people navigate these end-of-life decisions. Hospice, for sure, can help people figure out what they want that to look like. And there are other, like death doulas, that can help us evaluate, like, what does a good death look like? So what I'm offering here is we find ourselves continually put in these positions where a body, a shell, is not really doing well and functioning, and we keep treating them and holding this simultaneous thought of like, how long is this going to go on for? I think about driving our cars every day. Like here I am, I'm just trying to get to the grocery store. And I mean, there are 2 intersections within a mile and a half from my house where I don't know what it is about that arrow light and then the regular go light. But that arrow light, like every time our light turns green, the arrow, like 3 must be red on the other side, but 3 more cars will keep turning. It's the most bizarre thing. And I'm just trying to get to the store. And when I see someone who I believe is clearly running a red light, depending on my mood, I'm giving them grace. I may feel pretty neutral about it. And very occasionally, I have this fleeting thought that they need to be taught a lesson. And I want to jam on the gas. But I don't do it. I don't do it, and I don't judge the thought, and I don't make it mean I'm a terrible human or mother or wife or daughter. It just flutters by, and I'm on my way. So today I focused on one of the biggest and heaviest thoughts that can bubble to the surface when it comes to caregiving. And we are in new territory. We're living longer than ever before. We are treating more frequently and for longer than ever before. So this is just uncharted waters, and our brains don't have a frame of reference or don't always know what to make of something. And our brain's goal is to keep us safe. And anything that feels threatening to that will bring up thoughts that can make us really uncomfortable. So I invite you to cut yourself some slack. If we, this is so funny, if we all walked around acting on our darkest, deepest, most inappropriate thoughts, things would get outrageously weird in this world. So the beautiful thing is you can apply these strategies to any thought that comes up for you in any situation. And when it comes especially to these deep, dark thoughts around caregiving, I invite you to be curious, be open, observe the thought. Your brain is filtering all day long to keep you safe. And so a deep, dark thought around caregiving, that thought can sift through that filter too, without attaching to it. And be open to the idea of not giving the thought so much meaning and not making it so heavy. And allow the thought to just be without making it about a judgment on yourself or your character. Listen, I'm telling you, it can get pretty weird in these brains of ours. There's been some comic or something on the interwebs, and it says, I spend a lot of time in my head, so I'm trying to make it a nice place to be. So take a deep breath and go easy on yourself. And you don't have to make it mean all the heavy, dark things about yourself. It's okay. It's okay to have these dark thoughts as a caregiver and just let them flutter by. You are amazing. You are doing a great job. I see you and I love you. And happy National Caregiver Month. Do something for yourself. I love you. What I know for sure is that things are going fine until they're not. Everyone wants to stay in their home for as long as possible. And then there's a fall or a hospital stay or clear signs of dementia or a diagnosis, and remaining at home becomes questionable or potentially impossible. It is super important that you are informed about what assisted living and nursing home care can offer and understand how to choose the one that will best fit the needs of your family. I know from personal and professional experience what objections are going to come up and how to navigate those conversations. You love your family member and you are doing a great job. It just feels like the situation is fragile. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop and you don't know what you don't know. Illuminating Senior Living answers all of your questions and walks you through step by step each common objection and frequently asked question. This course will save you so much time and heartache. Imagine knowing exactly when it's time to move and ensuring the care and safety of your family member. Imagine knowing what specifically to be looking for in a care community and how to have the conversations about moving. Illuminating Senior Living gives you the roadmap so you're prepared. Click the link in the show notes, Illuminating Senior Living, to secure your video course today.